Hey, how's it going? Week 10 going strong. This time it is 9:45. I've kind of just started to do this every time now, so I know that I'll be getting this out before midnight. I specifically told some friends, hey, I need 10 minutes right now to do something so that I didn't tell them I was recording this, but so I can record this to get it out and then be uploading it while we're doing games or whatever. So let's go into a recap of the week, which is just not much. This next Tuesday I start my improv classes, so yeah, so that'll be something new. But otherwise, it was just like a normal week. My birthday was this last week. That was kind of cool. I'm getting old now. I did get the unfortunate news that I hinted at last week. I was sort of applying slash seeing if I could get a cat. There's a person who has two cats, and one of them is meant to be a single cat family, it would seem. They do not get along with the others. So they were being basically required to give it up because it wasn't working. So I reached out to see if it would work for me to take them, but it didn't. And I kind of saw that coming. I found out that the cat was a female, and the owner was a female, and at least one of the other people applying was a female. And me being a man, I went, I can see how this is going to go. And while it wasn't directly stated, it was it was very coincidental, or at least heavily implied that that was a big reason why I didn't. But so be it. That's just how it goes. No big deal. It was on a whim that I was reaching out about this anyways. I just had a friend send me the post about this cat needing a home, and I went, well, seems like it could be a good fit, and I have been looking for a cat recently, so maybe. And it didn't work out. That's how things go. I think I just kind of want to talk about sort of something that's been on my mind, hence the week of nostalgia. I don't really have a set plan or a time limit for today. It's probably going to be a shorter one, especially because I couldn't get any multiplayer gameplay. It was just search and destroy lobbies where one team was invincible and trying to trick shot, and I was on the other team. So I stayed in that for about 45 seconds until I found out what was going on, and then left and did some Spec Ops. So not a big deal in that case. But I've been thinking a lot about how the world is now and how it was when I was younger. And even I didn't get to fully experience it because I was, 7 during this time that I would consider sort of a peak society. And I understand that that's not going to be what everyone thinks, and it's a bit of probably a hot button issue. But I think the early to mid 2000s is probably when things were some of the best they were. I'm looking at it through rose-tinted glasses and nostalgia, but I see the thriving of the American Mall and spaces, and this also goes back probably to the 90s as well. But these spaces where people would go out and physically hang out and do things, and even if it was centered around capitalism and spending money and all that, it seemed to make people happy. It was a cool thing to do. Now people just have Discord servers and play games online, and obviously I do that too, but I made an effort to go out yesterday. I went to a half-price books, and I went to the mall, and instead of what I normally do, just going to the one or two stores that I plan to go to and getting what I needed, I just wandered. I walked up and down the mall, both levels, the whole store. I stopped into random ones that I either haven't seen or have never been in before, and I just had a good time. And I can't imagine how much better that would have been if I had, 2 or 3 friends that I was also doing that with. And I specifically brought a set of, I'm going to bring $80, and my goal is to, not spend it all, but if I see something less than 80, I'll just, buy it if I enjoy it and have that sort of fun little adventure. So it's very sad to see that becoming the death of, or, that slowly dying off. A bunch of the stores I went to as well, namely GameStop was the one I was really thinking of, kind of has to adapt to the time and has lost its touch, I'd say. I couldn't find any cases with old DS games. I know that's a very old and outdated system at this point. Even the Switch is starting to push it since we have the Switch 2. But I found none of that. Their game selection was not great. Their prices were fine, but it's like $20 for a 10-year-old game or something. That's decent. I don't mind that, but it was just all the games were stuff I didn't really want and didn't want to justify $20 for. So it's very unfortunate to see these sort of places lose what I used to love them for. And again, I didn't get to fully experience them. Um, Similarly, I've had some issues with technology. I'm staring at it right now, but my monitor. So in college, I bought a like $100 monitor. It was tiny. It was just so that I could use it to play on my Xbox in my dorm, and I'd have a second monitor when I was doing homework and whatnot. And I thought a couple times of upgrading that, getting a 4K monitor or a 32 inch or this or that, because when I built my computer, I bought a bigger. I think this is like a 27-inch monitor or something like that, and it's 1440p and everything. And recently, I had some trouble where it was just glitching out randomly, and I figured out that was a refresh rate problem, so I fixed that. But today I went to play a new game that only offered 1080 and 4K for the resolutions. I guess it's based on the hardware that they had at the time, the PlayStation um, 4 and the PlayStation 4 Pro or whatever it was. They could run those, so they had no 1440. And this monitor refuses to play on anything but 1440 in the frame rate that it needs. Otherwise, it glitches out crazy. So I was thinking, man, do I have to, buy this game on my Xbox? Do I need to, maybe buy it on my Switch? Do I need to get a new monitor? And then I just swapped the setups to my old monitor. Well, I swapped the main one that I was using, and that thing works fine. So it's just another instance of, even though technology gets better and I bought the more expensive thing, the crappy little $100 monitor that I've taken back and forth with me on travel dozens of times, and I've kind of treated like, not like garbage, but I haven't had a ton of love and care for it. It still works perfectly fine. And I think that about maybe old phones, old computers, how my printer does Bluetooth and Wi-Fi, and it's like, no, I wanted to have two buttons. I wanted to have on and okay to print when I cue something. I want to have a cord that plugs into my computer. I don't want all this smart technology. I just want it to work and do its thing. I'm sick of all this digital. Everything needs to be linked together and have an internet of things. Everything needs to be smart. But then as soon as one small issue happens, the whole system breaks, and you have to pay 3 times as much to fix it because you have to relink the whole system or whatever. And thinking of that, when I went to the half-price books yesterday, I bought a couple movies. I've decided to start getting movies and maybe some TV series and things like that in physical copies, because I don't like the idea of having to rely on online resources, whether that be streaming services or pirating. I saw that it was $5 for a movie, and I was able to get Spaceballs and Spider-Man 1, 2, and 3. I went, these are movies that I'd love to own. If someone came over and said, let's watch something, I would be fine with watching any of those. So I'm going to start slowly building up a little DVD physical media section. I think tomorrow I'm going to stop by a mall to look for a PlayStation 2 and some old games like that. I think I really just want to live in this nostalgia. I know that that's not seen as a good thing, that you have to move forward and look to the future and live for what's coming out later on. But I don't know, right now I don't feel attracted to that. I look at the games that are out and how they all have microtransactions and battle passes and loot boxes, and how it's all like a gambling system. Even the gameplay, its number get bigger, and it's all these sort of things that rely on chance and dopamine, and it's like, I don't know. One of my favorite game of all time was Red Dead 2, which is a newer game, but you bought it for $60 and you played a whole story, and frankly, you never needed to upgrade any of your weapons. You didn't need to, buy loot boxes or do anything like that. You just played the game and had fun. Or back in the day when I was playing Sly Cooper and Jack and Daxter, all that stuff was built into the games. You didn't need to play it online. It wasn't Overwatch or Marvel Rivals where there's only competitive online modes. So I'm thinking of trying to get back to those roots and to have more access to older games and systems like that. And I've had the thought of, do I want to live in that nostalgia and live for what was? And I think right now the answer is yes. I just don't like what's going on with the comic trends right now. And I want to see something familiar but new, things that I didn't experience from that time period, but that have that feel to them. I mean, how I walk around with a 2005 Sony Handycam and disposable cameras, because I think those forms of physical media are cool. I record all of my D&D sessions with a bomb-looking setup where I have a camera plugged into an adapter, that the adapter's plugged into a wireless battery, and the camera's plugged in to be charging, all to get that crisp early 2000s audio that is By no means, it's worse than a phone from 10 years ago. And my friends were like, hey, we can just get a better camera. We can get this a DSLR or a whatever that'll do this better. And I said, no, that's not the point. If I wanted just a camera, sure, I could buy something for $100, $200 and it would just work. But that's not what I want. I want that old school feel. I want this. I want it to give me that warm feeling of what things used to be like and what I imagine they used to be like. Honestly, that's kind of all I had. I don't know. I'm not really looking. I mean, I'm looking forward to some things this week. Like I said, improv, and I've got a party on Saturday. But like, nothing too big. There's no real updates. I guess I have a work year annual review on Thursday, so that'll be interesting. But other than that, it's kind of chill. Just moving on, and I don't know. We'll see how things go. We'll see what updates come up, and if not, there's no problem just having short life updates of these things. That's what they're for, after all. So, thanks for listening, and I hope you have a great week.